The silver locket around my neck felt heavier than usual, its etched floral pattern digging into my skin as I stood in the kitchen of our family's Portland row house. It was a gift from my mom when I turned 16, a promise of love that I'd worn every day since. Tonight, though, it felt like a chain. My dad's voice boomed from the dining room, cutting through the clatter of dishes I was washing. "Ellie, you're telling me you can't cover the mortgage this month after everything we've done for you?" His tone was sharp, like he was scolding a child, not a 32-year-old woman who'd been paying their bills for years. I gripped the sponge water dripping onto the counter and forced my voice to stay steady. "Dad, I've been covering it for 4 years, over $60,000. I just need a break. My savings are gone and I'm barely keeping up with my own rent." He stormed into the kitchen, his face flushed red, the same shade it got when he was about to lecture me. "A break. Your brother's trying to launch his music career. He needs us, Ellie. You've got a good job. Don't be selfish." Selfish. The word hit like a slap. I turned off the faucet, the silence deafening, and faced him. My mom lingered in the doorway, her eyes on the floor, twisting her wedding ring like she always did when things got tense. My younger brother Nate was upstairs, probably blasting his guitar, oblivious to the storm brewing below. "Selfish." I repeated, my voice low but trembling. "I've paid the mortgage on this house since you and Mom lost your savings in that bad investment. I've covered Nate's studio rentals, his equipment, even Mom's physical therapy after her fall. I'm not a bank, Dad." His eyes narrowed. "We're family. Family steps up. You've always been the responsible one. Nate's got a real shot at something big. Don't ruin it for him." I wanted to scream. Responsible. That's what they'd always called me. Ellie, the reliable one. The one who worked 2 jobs through college to avoid student loans. The one who became a project manager at a tech startup by 26, clawing my way up while Nate chased dreams that never seemed to land. I'd never complained about helping. It was my way of keeping us together, of proving I belonged. But tonight, something cracked inside me. "Dad, I'm drowning," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. "I can't keep doing this." Mom finally spoke, her voice soft, almost pleading. "Ellie, sweetheart, we know you've done a lot. But Nate, he's fragile. He needs more support than you do. You're so strong." Strong. Another word that felt like a cage. I touched the locket, its cool metal grounding me, and took a deep breath. "What about me? Don't I get to need anything?" Dad scoffed, turning away. "You're fine. You always are." He grabbed his coat from the hook by the door. "I'm going for a walk. Think about what family means, Ellie." The door slammed behind him and Mom shuffled back to the dining room without another word. I stood there, the sponge still in my hand, feeling like the walls were closing in. That's when I noticed the envelope on the counter, half hidden under a stack of mail. It was addressed to Nate, stamped with the logo of a financial firm. My hands shook as I opened it, knowing I shouldn't but unable to stop. Inside was a statement for a custodial account in Nate's name. $250,000. Set up 2 years ago by my parents. My breath caught in my throat. 2 years ago, I was wiring them $1,500 a month for the mortgage while they told me they were scraping by. 2 years ago, I skipped a promotion because I couldn't afford to move to Seattle with my savings drained. And all that time, they'd been squirreling away $250,000 for Nate. The locket burned against my chest. I thought of Mom giving it to me, her eyes misty as she said, "This is for my strong girl. You're our rock." I'd believed her. I'd believed they saw me. But this envelope told a different story. They didn't see me as their daughter. They saw me as their safety net. I dropped the envelope and sank to the floor, the tiles cold against my knees. Upstairs, Nate's guitar wailed, each note a reminder of the dreams I'd put on hold. I'd always told myself I was helping because I loved them. But love wasn't supposed to feel like this, like I was disappearing. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my laptop in my tiny apartment across town, the city lights of Portland flickering outside my window. I opened a spreadsheet I'd kept for years, tracking every payment I'd made for my family. Mortgage, $62,400. Nate's music gear and studio time, $12,800. Mom's medical bills $7,200. Miscellaneous expenses, family dinners, car repairs, even a new AC unit for the row house $9,600. Total $91,800. Almost $100,000 gone. Money I could have used for a down payment on my own place, a vacation, or just a cushion, so I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck. My phone buzzed with a text from Nate. "Hey, Dad says you're being weird about the mortgage. Can you just pay it? I've got a big gig coming up, need to focus." I laughed a bitter, hollow sound. Of course he didn't know. Why would he? He was the golden child, the one they pinned their hopes on, while I was just Ellie. The one who always said yes. I closed the laptop and touched the locket again. It was supposed to symbolize love, but now it felt like a lie. I unclasped it, setting it on the table, its silver glinting in the dim light. For the first time in years, my neck felt bare. Free. I wasn't sure what I'd do next, but one thing was clear: I couldn't keep being their rock. Not when it was crushing me. The next morning, I woke to a headache and a buzzing phone. 6 missed calls from Dad, 3 from Mom, and a string of texts from Nate, each more demanding than the last. "Ellie, what's your deal? Dad says you're bailing on the mortgage. I need to focus on my music, not this drama." I tossed the phone onto my couch, its screen lighting up the dim living room of my Portland apartment. The silver locket sat on the coffee table, catching the gray morning light. I hadn't put it back on. It felt wrong now, like wearing a costume that didn't fit. I brewed coffee, the machine's hum, drowning out the city noise outside, and tried to focus. My job as a project manager was deadline heavy, and I had a client presentation tomorrow. But my mind kept drifting to that envelope, to the $250,000 my parents had stashed for Nate, while I bled my savings dry. I opened my laptop and stared at the spreadsheet again. $91,800 paid to keep their row house afloat, to fund Nate's dreams, to patch up Mom's health. Each number was a brick in a wall I'd built between my own future and their needs. I needed perspective, someone who'd see this for what it was. I texted my cousin Jess, who'd always been my sounding board. She was a nurse, blunt and fiercely loyal, the only one in the family who didn't tiptoe around Dad's temper. "Can we meet? Need to talk." Her reply was instant: Voodoo Donuts, noon. Spill. The donut shop was a Portland staple, all neon pinks and quirky vibes, but today it felt too loud, too bright. Jess slid into the booth across from me, her scrubs wrinkled from a night shift. I pushed a maple bacon donut toward her, and she raised an eyebrow. "This bad, huh? What's up?" I told her everything: the mortgage payments, Nate's custodial account, Dad's selfish jab, Mom's silence. My voice cracked when I got to the locket, how Mom had called me her rock while funneling money to Nate behind my back. Jess listened, her jaw tightening, and when I finished, she leaned back, whistling low. "Ellie, that's messed up. They've been using you like a damn ATM. And Nate. He's 27, not a kid. Why is he still mooching?" I shrugged, picking at my donut. "They say he's fragile, that he needs more help. Dad thinks I'm fine because I've got a job, but I'm not fine. I'm broke, Jess. And I feel invisible." She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "You're not invisible to me. But you've got to stop this. They're not going to change unless you make them." Her words stuck with me as I drove home, the locket in my coat pocket like a stone. Jess was right. I'd been enabling them, thinking love meant saying yes to every demand. But love wasn't a ledger where I kept paying to prove my worth. I needed to draw a line, even if it hurt. Back at my apartment, I called my financial advisor, Priya, who'd helped me set up a small investment account a few years back before I started funneling every spare dollar to my family. I emailed her my spreadsheet and asked for a meeting. Her response was quick. "This is alarming, Ellie. Let's talk tomorrow. Bring everything." That evening, my phone lit up again. Mom this time, her voice soft and shaky in a voicemail. "Ellie, honey, your dad's upset about the mortgage. We're counting on you. Can you call me back? We need you." No mention of the custodial account, no acknowledgement of the years I'd carried them. Just more pressure to keep the machine running. I didn't call back. Instead, I pulled up my bank account and canceled the automatic mortgage payment I'd set up for their row house. My finger hovered over the confirm button, my stomach twisting. This was it, the first real no I'd ever said to them. I clicked, and a weight lifted, but it was replaced by a new fear. What would they do when they realized I wasn't their safety net anymore? The next day I met Priya at her office downtown, a sleek space with views of the Willamette River. She reviewed my spreadsheet, her brow furrowing as she totaled the numbers. Ellie, you've diverted $91,800 to your family over 4 years. Based on your investment returns, you've also lost about $12,000 in potential growth. This isn't sustainable. You're jeoparded, but you're sabotaging your future. I knotted my throat tight. I thought I was helping because I love them. But then I found out they've been saving $250,000 for my brother. They told me they had nothing, Priya. Nothing. Her eyes softened, but her voice was firm. That's a betrayal, plain and simple. You need to protect yourself. I recommend documenting every payment you've made, bank statements, transfer receipts, everything. And you need to talk to a lawyer or accountant about your options. This level of financial disparity in a family, it's not just unfair. It's exploitative. Exploitative. The word hit hard, but it felt true. Priya referred me to an accountant, Marcus Lee, who specialized in family financial disputes. I left her office with a plan, gather evidence, set boundaries, and figure out how to confront my family without losing myself in the process. That night, I started compiling records, every wire transfer, every check, every text from Mom thanking me for saving the day. It was a paper trail of my love twisted into something that made me feel used. The locket still in my pocket seemed to pulse with every document I scanned. I remembered Mom's hands fastening it around my neck, her smile so warm I'd felt like the center of her world. Now, I wondered if she'd ever meant it. My phone buzzed again. Nate this time with a voice message. Ellie, the bank just called Dad. The mortgage payment didn't go through. What the hell, fix this? I've got enough on my plate. His tone was all entitlement, no gratitude. I deleted the message and turned off my phone. I wasn't their rock anymore. And for the first time I realized I didn't have to be. The air in my apartment felt stale, thick with the weight of what I'd done. Canceling the mortgage payment was like cutting a lifeline, and the fallout was swift. My phone vibrated relentlessly on the kitchen counter, a chorus of texts and voicemails from my parents and Nate. I ignored them, focusing instead on the stack of bank statements and receipts spread across my dining table. Each one was a piece of my heart, given freely to a family that hadn't noticed. The silver locket, now tucked in a drawer, seemed to whisper from its hiding place. You were their rock, but who was yours? By noon, I met Marcus Lee, the accountant Priya recommended, at a quiet coffee shop in Portland's Pearl District. The place smelled of roasted beans and fresh pastries, but my stomach was too knotted to eat. Marcus, a wiry man with sharp eyes, flipped through my documentation, his pen tapping the table rhythmically. Ellie, this is meticulous, he said, glancing up. $91,800 over 4 years plus $12,000 in lost investment growth. That's not pocket change. And this custodial account for your brother, $250,000, while they leaned on you. That's a clear pattern of exploitation. I sipped my coffee, the bitterness mirroring my mood. I just wanted to help. I thought that's what family does. He nodded, but his voice was firm. Family doesn't mean one person carries the load while others get a free ride. You've got options, legal recourse if you want it, though family disputes get messy. Or you can use this as leverage to reset expectations. What do you want? I hesitated. What did I want? Not revenge that felt too ugly. I wanted them to see me, to understand the cost of their choices. I want them to know what I've done, I said finally. And I want it to stop. Marcus slid a notarized report across the table, summarizing my contributions and the opportunity costs. This is your ammo. Use it wisely. Family fights over money aren't just about dollars, they're about trust. That evening, Jess called, her voice urgent. Ellie, you need to know something. Your dad's been telling the family you're abandoning them. He's planning a big dinner at the row house this weekend to sort it out. Aunt Carla and Uncle Dan are coming. He's framing it like you're the bad guy. My chest tightened. Of course he was. Dad always had a knack for spinning stories, making himself the martyr. Thanks for the heads up, I said. I'm going. Jess paused. You sure it could get ugly? I'm done hiding, I replied, surprised by the steel in my voice. Saturday arrived, gray and drizzly, Portland's skyline blurred by mist. I dressed in a navy blazer and jeans, the outfit I wore for tough client meetings, and slipped Marcus's report into my bag. The locket stayed in the drawer. I wasn't ready to wear it, not yet. Driving to the row house, I felt like I was heading into a storm, the wiper's rhythmic thud matching my pulse. The dining room was packed when I arrived, Aunt Carla. Uncle Dan, Jess, my parents, and Nate all seated around the oak table that had hosted countless family gatherings. The air smelled of Mom's lasagna, but the mood was anything but warm. Dad stood at the head of the table, his arms crossed, and fixed me with a stare. Ellie, glad you could make it. We're here to talk about your refusal to support this family. I set my bag on the table, my hands steady despite the knot in my gut. Support. Let's talk about that. I pulled out copies of Marcus's report and passed them around. For 4 years, I've paid $91,800 to keep this house, Nate's music career, and Mom's medical bills. That's $91,800 I didn't have for my own life. And while I was doing that, you and Mom set up a $250,000 account for Nate. Without telling me. The room went silent, forks clattering against plates. Aunt Carla's eyes widened as she scanned the report. Uncle Dan coughed, shifting uncomfortably. Nate's face flushed, his mouth, opening then closing. Dad's voice was ice. This is private family business, Ellie. You're airing dirty laundry. No, Dad, I said, my voice rising. You made it everyone's business when you told them I'm abandoning you. I'm not. I'm just done being your bank while you lie to me. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Ellie, we didn't lie. Nate needed more help. You've always been so capable. Capable. I laughed, the sound sharp and raw. I'm capable because I had to be. You didn't pay for my college. I worked 60-hour weeks to graduate debt-free. Nate got a free ride to music school, and now $250,000. When do I get to be the one who needs help? Nate finally spoke, his voice defensive. I didn't ask for that money, Ellie. And I didn't know you were paying all that. Dad said you were just helping out. I turned to him, my heart aching. You didn't know because you didn't care to ask. You took Nate, and I let you. But I'm done. Aunt Carla broke the silence, her voice firm. Tom, is this true? You let Ellie carry this load while saving for Nate. That's not right. Dad's face darkened, but before he could respond, Jess stood up. Ellie's not the villain here. You all owe her an apology. And maybe a hell of a lot more. The room erupted, voices overlapping, Uncle Dan questioning Dad, Mom sobbing, Nate muttering excuses. I stood there, the report in my hand, feeling both powerful and hollow. For the first time, they saw me. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like grief. The row house dinner left a bruise on my soul. I drove home through Portland's rain-slicked streets, the city lights smearing like tears across my windshield. My phone stayed silent, no texts or calls from my family, just the hum of the car and the ache in my chest. I'd finally made them see me, but it didn't feel like I'd won. It felt like I'd lost something I could never get back. At my apartment, I pulled the silver locket from the drawer, its floral etchings glinting under the lamp. I traced its edges, remembering Mom's promise. You're our rock. A lie, or maybe a truth I'd outgrown. The next few days were a blur of work and avoidance. I buried myself in project deadlines, ignoring the voicemail Dad left the morning after the dinner. Ellie, we need to talk. The mortgage is late and Nate's stressed. Call me. No apology. No acknowledgement of the $91,800 I'd poured into their lives. Just more demands. I deleted it, my resolve hardening. I wasn't going back to being their fix-it girl. But Nate's message came next. His voice softer, almost broken. Ellie, I saw the report you gave everyone. I didn't know it was that much. Can we meet, please? I hesitated, then texted back Powell's books tomorrow. 3 p.m. neutral ground public safe. I wasn't ready to face him at the row house, not after everything. Powell's was crowded, the air thick with the scent of paper and coffee. I found Nate in the graphic novel section, his usual swagger gone, replaced by hunched shoulders and red-rimmed eyes. He held a dog-eared copy of Watchmen, fidgeting like a kid caught stealing. I sat across from him at a small table, my bag with Marcus's report between us like a shield. "Ellie," he started, voice low, "I swear I didn't know you were paying that much. Dad always said you were just chipping in. I thought you were doing fine." I studied him, searching for a lie, but his eyes held only guilt. "Nate, you never asked. You took the gear, the studio time, the free ride. Did you ever wonder where it came from?" He looked away, swallowing hard. "I should've. I was selfish. But there's something you don't know." He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "That $250,000, it's not just for me. Dad used some of it to cover a debt from his failed business deal. He didn't want anyone to know he screwed up again." My breath caught. A debt I'd assumed the custodial account was all for Nate's music dreams, a golden ticket to stardom. But this was worse. Dad had been siphoning my money to keep their house afloat while hiding his own financial mess behind Nate's name. The locket in my pocket felt like it was burning through the fabric. "How much?" I asked, my voice tight. "About $80,000, Nate admitted. "The rest is for me, but..." "Ellie, I didn't know until last year. I told Dad to tell you, but he said you'd handle it, that you always do." I laughed, a jagged sound that turned heads in the bookstore. "Handle it? I've been handling everything, Nate. While Dad played hero and you played rock star." His face crumpled. "I'm sorry. I want to fix this. I told Dad to come clean, but he won't. He's too ashamed." Ashamed. The word hung between us, heavy as the truth. Dad's pride, his need to be the provider, had twisted our family into this mess. And I'd paid the price, literally. I stood, grabbing my bag. "Thanks for telling me, Nate. But this isn't your fix. It's Dad's." As I walked out, the locket jostled in my pocket, a reminder of the love I'd chased and the lies I'd uncovered. I didn't know if Nate's confession changed anything, but it lit a fire in me. Dad couldn't hide anymore. That night, I called Aunt Carla, who'd been texting me since the dinner, worried but supportive. I told her about Nate's revelation, the debt, the deception. Her voice was steel. "Ellie, this stops now. Your dad's been dodging accountability for years. I'm calling a family meeting without him ambushing you this time. Bring your report. We'll sort this out." I agreed, my heart pounding. Another confrontation, but this time I wouldn't be alone. I pulled the locket from my pocket, holding it up to the light. It wasn't just a symbol of Mom's love anymore. It was a reminder of what I deserved: truth, fairness, respect. And I was ready to demand it. The family meeting Aunt Carla called was set for a rainy Sunday at her bungalow in Portland's Hawthorne district, a cozy space filled with mismatched furniture and the scent of cedar. I arrived early, Marcus's notarized report tucked in my bag, my nerves buzzing like static. The silver locket was back around my neck, not as a chain, but as a reminder I deserved truth, fairness, respect. I'd spent years being their rock, but today, I was here for me. Carla greeted me with a hug, her eyes fierce. "You're not alone, Ellie. We're getting this right." Jess was already there, scrolling through her phone, but she flashed me a grin that said, "We've got this." Uncle Dan and Mom arrived next, Mom's face pale, her hands twisting her scarf. Nate slipped in quietly, avoiding my gaze. Dad was last, his jaw tight, carrying the weight of a man who knew he'd been cornered. Carla didn't waste time. "We're here because this family's broken," she said, standing by her fireplace. "Ellie's been carrying a load none of us saw, and it's time we face it." "Ellie, go ahead." I stood, my voice steadier than I felt, and passed out copies of the report. For 4 years, I paid $91,800 for the row house mortgage, Nate's music gear, Mom's medical bills, and more. I lost $12,000 in investment growth. I did it because I love you all. But I found out you saved $250,000 for Nate while telling me you had nothing. And Nate told me $80,000 of that covered Dad's business debt. You used me to hide his mistakes. The room was still, the rain tapping the windows like a heartbeat. Mom's eyes welled up. Dad stared at the floor, his hands clenched. Nate spoke first, his voice small. Ellie, I told them we need to fix this. I don't want the money if it hurts you. Dad's head snapped up. This isn't about the money. It's about family. I made choices to protect us all. Protect! I cut in, my voice sharp. You protected your pride, Dad. You let me drain my savings while you hid your failure. You called me selfish when I said no. That's not family. That's exploitation. Mom sobbed, reaching for my hand. Ellie, I'm so sorry. I let your dad handle the finances. I thought you were okay. Okay. My throat tightened, but I didn't look away. I was okay because I had to be. But I needed you, Mom. I needed to be seen, not just used. Uncle Dan cleared his throat. Tom, you owe Ellie an explanation. And maybe more than that. Dad's shoulders slumped, and for the first time I saw him break, not in anger but in shame. I messed up, he said, voice hoarse. After the business collapsed, I was ashamed. Nate's account was supposed to be a fresh start, but I used some to cover my debts. I thought Ellie could handle it. I was wrong. The admission hit me like a wave, not healing but clarifying. He'd chosen his ego over me. I nodded, tears stinging my eyes. Thank you for saying it. But it doesn't erase the hurt. Carla stepped in. Tom, you and Nate need to make this right. Ellie's paid for that row house. She deserves a stake. Nate nodded quickly. I agree. I talked to a lawyer. We can transfer 25% ownership to Ellie, and I'll cover the mortgage for a year from my gig money. It's not enough, but it's a start. Mom wiped her eyes. And I'm selling my old jewelry, Ellie. It's not much, but I want to help pay you back. I blinked, caught off guard. You don't have to. Yes, I do, she said firmly. You're my daughter, not my bank. I should have stood up for you. The meeting ended with plans to meet a lawyer and formalize the ownership transfer. Dad didn't apologize outright, but his silence felt like surrender. As I left, Nate caught me at the door. Ellie, I'm gonna do better. I promise. I nodded, not trusting my voice. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a crack in the wall between us. Back at my apartment, I stood by the window watching the rain ease into a drizzle. The locket rested against my chest lighter now, not a lie, but a new promise to myself. I'd lost nearly $100 on dollars and years of trust, but I'd gained something too. My voice, my worth, my right to say no. Jess texted me a photo from the meeting, all of us around Carla's table, and a message. Proud of you, rock star. I smiled, the first real one in weeks. The row house wasn't my home anymore, but I had a stake in it, and in my future. I opened my laptop and enrolled in a coding boot camp. I'd been eyeing something just for me. The locket gleamed as I worked, a symbol not of what I'd lost, but of what I'd found, a family that saw me, and a life I could finally claim as my own.